It's been really nice having these conversations.
It's a privilege, Vikram.
Please don't even say that. You'll embarrass me.
No, seriously, it's a privilege. I mean, the fact that I get the opportunity to speak on a platform from which people like Ken Cloke speak.
Oh, I think that way Ken has been really nice to be part of all these events. I think that's been one good thing. That the basic thing was that all those words of wisdom of his should not get lost in a small room with a few people.
Exactly.
And people pay hundreds of dollars to go and listen to that. And that way he's been really nice. He wants people to listen to things. He's been out there. So I think that's been one really nice thing that has come up out of this.
Very true. Very true. And there are so many other people. I'm not right now. I'm not able to recall the names. Of course, Mr. Panchu has been there, and apart from that, even from all over the world. It's really amazing how you were able to identify them and bring them on board.
That's been the biggest challenge, Jawad. That's been the biggest challenge, because I was very sure that here we are out there putting a face to a mediator. So it should be really, for me, look, it's my selection, my curation. It's like art. Everyone might have different tastes. Like the painting behind you, you would have that. Someone else will have some other taste. But the fact is that you have to curate your own world.
Yeah, true, very true.
I mean, that's been something which I had to do. It was very clear in my mind. Today also, like I was, of course, like I said, I have to discuss that India Mediation Circle with you also. There also, we have to be very selective, because these people represent mediation. Look, what is happening in the court system, definitely their recognition is not really required for them, because they're given these mediators. But outside the court system, they should be able to actually, of course, word of mouth, how that will spread, we'll talk about it. But we have to, what I've come up with is like the multi-level marketing scheme. It's going to work like that. Jawad will bring in more people, they will bring in more people, and that's how we reach out to every corner. But only thing, Jawad, we have to put it's going to be...
Just tell me a little about that if you have the time.
Look, let's go grassroots onwards, down onwards. Every school, we go out and we ask them that, first of all, that we're creating a mediation circle. We want to create a mediation circle. Mediation, like I keep saying, is one sentence. That's all it is, to explain what it is. And who are those children who have that mindset? We will ask the children. So we are now creating this environment that the children themselves are able to identify their mediator. And I will differentiate. I'll tell you about the mediator and the peacemaker. So they will identify them. And then those people will come together. That, I mean, we are creating an atmosphere. That's it. And after that, it's theirs. So now you have at the school level, these mediators and peacemakers identified. Those people who have already, I'm telling you, they're already doing it. It's nothing. We're not coming up with anything new. It's just that we are not being able to call it mediation. That's all. And for me, it's the process, not the word which matters at all. So they're already doing it. Now we're just saying that this is actually a kind of I mean, it's a circle. Like I said, it's a circle. So whoever has some kind of a disagreement, fight in the children, they have these people identified. So that goes out around the school. Now, then same thing happens.
In other countries, there are programs like this, which is called as peer mediation, where a few students from each school or class are trained to do this. I mean, basically, they need to have those qualities, and then they're also, of course, you don't like the word.
You started with that. Actually, that's exactly why I'm not using that word. What is happening is that people are going into these schools and saying, we will train people to be, we will make mediators. I have this issue. We'll come and tell you what it's all about. We'll coach you, we will train you, and then we'll put you together. Where I'm telling you, it's called peer mediation. But the folk, please.
Sorry.
So they call it peer mediation, but one major activity of it is that these children maybe just sit around and they talk about the issues with each other. Now, the actual mediation Is it really happening is the main thing, because my focus is very clear. I'm down to the mediation part of it. A lot of other things will happen. Conflict coaching will happen. All that will be
Yeah.
obviously is
See,
happening. Yeah.
I think some people have a natural talent, okay, in listening to people and trying to understand what they are saying. But some people are impatient. They try to, they keep butting in and don't allow the other person to complete a sentence. Now, instead of calling it as training, perhaps we can call it as, coaching them on how to effectively communicate, how to listen, what kind of questions you need to ask. So that kind of coaching will, definitely will help them to, polish their skills a little more and, do the job in a better way.
Look, if I mean, just to make me happy, say, just try it without this aspect. Just try it. Just any school. Just go to the school. There must be a school around your area. Just walk in there and say, look, I'm a mediator and I want to do this. I want to speak to the children. And you ask them, who are those children? Then ask them, what did they do? Ask the children who benefited and the children who do it. You will actually, they will tell you about the questioning part of it. They will tell you everything about it. Everything that you are talking about, they're already doing that. And they're doing it in their way for children that they understand. Because look, finally, it's going to be about, there might be the, say, cultural aspect, but of course, culture, that part of it is another debate. These children are within that little environment that they are in, and they understand each other. They are sensitive to each other also. When we come in with a certain kind of a structure that we think is what should be adopted, don't realize that the structure itself, where does the structure come from? That's what the whole idea of doing all these events and all was. Let's start digging deeper in every place. So you say mature market, US, let's go there. Let's see what's happening there. So that box that came out of it, first of all, for me, it's not even relevant in that country itself, because finally we have to see the end result. That doesn't seem to be working out for them itself. So now that box went out. Now, just the fact that Jawad himself, over the last 10 years or 15, whatever time you've been doing your mediations, you yourself have evolved. So every day you are evolving. Now a box is created 50 years back, 40 years back, and that goes out as a structure that this is what mediation is all about. Do we really want to do that to these children who are adopting on a daily basis? And they're interacting with each other and evolving on a daily basis, and they themselves have reached a point where I'm telling you, Jawad, like, it's not about age or anything. There will be like Ken Cloke is there, 80 plus, and Jawad is there. I won't say what his age is, but he's not 80 plus.
60 plus.
Okay. So now it's not that everyone has to become 80 plus to be wise. Jawad at his age is wise. Same way, why do we only consider ourselves after a certain age? Why do we say that that child is not wise enough?
They have. See, I'll just tell you an example from my house, okay, from my home. I have two grandsons, right? One is 13 and one is 12. And the younger guy has got some issues in his class where sometimes he's put in charge of the class and he's not able to handle it. Whereas the elder guy is able to manage them very effectively. So there was this conversation, which I just happened to record a bit, where the elder guy is telling him what kind of approach should be there to handle this class, especially the students who don't respond to him or don't listen to him. So how do you do that? It was a very interesting conversation, and I was wondering that where did this guy get all these ideas from? Okay, at the age of 13, I mean, you're talking about listening to people and respecting them, and understanding what exactly they're trying to say instead of telling them what to do. Setting an example, blah, blah, blah. A whole lot of points were emerging from that conversation. And it was very interesting. Anyway, you're right. I think there are some people who have this. Vikram, are you there? Vikram, I think for a
I froze. Did I freeze?
Yeah.
And I thought you were frozen. And I'm checking what's really happening here. Yeah. So he actually I mean, the way he was talking to him, you actually felt that
Yeah.
where did this wisdom come from? It's wisdom. Okay, let's call it wisdom.
It's wisdom. No doubt it is wisdom. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You'll be very surprised when you actually, because
Mm.
the thing is that what they're doing within themselves is actually not captured anywhere, because
Correct.
those interactions happen wherever it's happening. I'm saying they might be sitting together as friends in there's someone's house, or they might be doing it in the playground,
Mm.
wherever they're doing it.
Yeah.
Now that part of it gets lost. We don't see what's happening there. It might have evolved. Just say, let's put it that they might have evolved faster than us, because
Yes.
the exposure to content
Yes. Yes.
all over the world, they've got it much earlier. When did we get it? Imagine what age did we get all that? And today, just the fact that they've got access to, they're listening to things today. Even us, I mean, in that WhatsApp group, there will be so many things which are posted, which
Yeah.
will be again transfer of wisdom. Now, that exposure is coming very young to them. So that's one thing we should also cater for. So I'm just saying that from our side, let's just go walk in and just say that we are just wanting to talk to these children and identify from them. The fact that you are talking about skill development, I use that word, you know that I use that skill development word. We'll take it from there,
Yeah.
not to go, we will train, we will gauge Awaz or me, are we competent even to gauge their skills? Are we? I don't even know whether we are. It's
Oh,
their
yeah.
own environment, how they handle that environment. So
Yeah.
from the people whom they identify, whatever skill development, that also we'll discuss as we go along, what that skill development should entail. it we have to be very careful that we are not putting something there which might not have worked in the world that we come from. So look, at the end of the day, we keep talking about how things are happening in every corner, not in the world, every corner of your city, maybe in your locality, things are happening which you are not very happy with. So why do we say that we are competent to tell you when we have not been able to handle ourselves? So let's go with this. So basically now this is one is the people with the mediator mindset, but there are also those children who have this thing. Come on, come together. Why are you fighting? Now they are might not have the skill of a mediator.
Yeah.
So that's why I call them peacemakers, just because we have to have both the groups. And that's also a skill,
Yeah. Correct.
getting children together, or people in general, that we talk about elders also, but the
Yes.
children, just
Mm.
to of the fact that they were in some way. Now what actually entails, what really, I mean, in terms of course, discussion in relation to heart soul spirituality and energy and all those terms we talk about, I've spoken about that. So why do they listen to some children and why not others? How are
Others.
these people able to do this?
Yeah.
We might not have words for it, but for us, do we really need words? Do we really need theory when in practice these people are doing it?
Yes.
So let them do it. However, whatever's happening there, I mean, tomorrow there might be a word for it, or do we have to wait for the word?
Oh,
So
no.
I don't know. So this is now end result. So we have these children there. So now we just are telling them that this is something as an activity, as a group, you can come together.
Correct.
And I mean, the stage two is, first of all, this group comes together of people who want to resolve in an amicable, collaborative manner, and those peacemakers and mediators exist. So let's just them be a group. They don't. Doesn't have to be the whole school to start with. Why my whole reason of making it a community is that
Mhm.
when other children see that these children can sit together and have a very productive conversation. One is, first will be the resolution of
Yeah.
disputes,
Yeah.
but the role of mediator doesn't end in just doing mediations.
Correct. Yeah.
For me, the role of mediators in society is going to be much, much larger. So they will bring conversations in the school where it is an objective conversation on various things. On the other end, I keep saying that, look, activism, advocacy, politics, we have seen lots of that, but not the best has come out of that.
Yes.
So why not give an alternative to every, this is not what I'm saying is going to be the same thing when we talk about communities. So when they see that some children can do that, this group will be brought in from,
Mm.
it could be a local, I mean, in a school itself, there could be something that is being adopted and a conversation is required.
Yes.
So because on one end we talk about debates, so they're
Yeah.
debating
Mm.
groups and clubs that happen. But
Correct.
what about this aspect where people are sitting together and trying
Yeah.
to resolve?
Yeah.
Which of course What all comes out of it will again depend on, let it organically develop within themselves. So we are not saying you have to do it like this. We're saying just do it. And
Yes.
then as you go along, you'll find an interest in it. You will read about it. We will have the best in the world. Look, I'm saying there is a lot of content today available on my channel itself, a lot
Lot
of
of
content. So let, if of course might not be for children at this point of time, or I don't know. I again don't know. Actually, maybe they can pick up from this also.
yes, yes.
If these children listen to Ken Cloke, maybe
Mm.
they are able to absorb. I mean, I don't even want to even say that you need you have to be at a certain age. I think you just need a mindset.
Yeah, yeah.
So that happens at the school level, and
Correct.
same thing happens at the community level. Nothing different. It's the same thing. You're coming in after that. Look, what is now for me? It's finally, it was always about the mediators earning out of it. It was totally about that.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of people going out into communities and talking about mediation. A lot of that has happened. But has it translated into people using the process?
Yeah.
But that did not translate. So
Yeah.
here I'm saying that we are actually coming, and look, mediation centers were developed in communities, definitely. But that still becomes, okay, if someone is creating a center funded by the government and
Mhm.
come to the center. Here we are saying, why do you have to even come to a center? All this can happen within your community itself. All these residential
Mhm.
residence welfare associations and all, they
Correct.
can have a mediation
Yeah.
circle created, and whoever wants to be part of it. So now it's not about getting everyone to start with together. Whoever wants to be part of it, so let's just create it into your some residents welfare association you might have around. Let's ask them.
Yeah.
Let's just keep talking to smaller communities to start with, and
Mhm.
then as it develops in various places, then it becomes a citywide thing,
Correct.
becomes a countrywide thing. And
Mhm.
then I think impact, Jawad, is not going to happen in a day or year or whatever. It's going to take its time. But what we are doing is we are just putting the
We may not even be able to see it perhaps in our lifetime. I don't know.
well, I don't say that.
But
You are going to see it, because I'm telling you, once this is all like I said, the multi-level marketing thing. We just have to create that whole chain happening.
correct.
You reach 1,000, they reach 1,000 is 1,000,000 people.
Yeah.
That's all. It doesn't take much, but with the right people. And 1,000 people, will we not be able to identify in the country? Easily, Jawad will be able to do it, which I keep saying that you're interacting with so many people. Okay, might not start with 1,000, maybe starts with 100, whatever it starts with. The, the progression will be so fast that
Yeah.
suddenly we might just see the impact.
Mhm.
The first level will be the time when we can, what conversation we are having,
Correct.
that conversation is required. Look, you're not going there to put your thoughts.
Yeah.
You're creating just an environment.
Mhm.
And then, but finally, the money part of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's the part. So what I was, it's going to be that those people who I feel that, okay, let's create these circles, they are going to pay me something, which I kept saying. For what amount that's going to be, is going to be a countrywide thing. We'll discuss the amount. Then the people that you bring in pay you something, and
Mhm.
maybe you share some part with me. And then
Mhm.
same way they go out and do that, down to the person in that community or in that school. Let the children pay something,
Yeah.
because free doesn't get valued. Free doesn't get valued. I don't have an issue if there is, so as we go along, we just might get sponsors. No
Yeah.
problem. Whoever, the mediator has to be paid. The peacemaker has to be paid. Only then, if they get valued, things go further. So we might get sponsors. There might be organizations which say, look, I think we should do this. Let's create this, and we are with you on this. So we get funding for that.
Correct.
But we don't mind who pays,
Yeah.
but the mediator, peacemaker, clear. So now same thing we do in organizations.
Mhm.
Create a mediation circle in every organization.
Mhm.
Now, again, the funding can come from the organization, will come from the organization.
Yeah.
So I'm saying internally, their workplace disputes and all,
Mhm.
and the external ones that they have with their outside parties or whatever, these
Mhm.
suppliers and other things, you are going out and saying that, look, as an organization, we want to resolve things amicably. We do not think that litigation or any other adversarial process is our first thing to do. We will not be sending out notices like this.
Yes.
Okay, this is it, and whatever, we will take so and so action. No, we will reach out to you and try to understand, because you will be very surprised when it comes down to, I mean, I'm sure you, of course, you've done that. When you realize that sometimes it's a miscommunication done by some employee sitting somewhere. One simple thing got escalated to a level, and then the egos came in, and then suddenly you found out that the bloody thing becomes huge.
Yeah.
So it starts with something very basic.
Yeah.
So let's create that environment. And I'm saying that, Jawad, ultimately, every contract that's drafted, have a person with the mediator mindset sitting there. Those contracts will come out as very fair contracts and will be a long-term relationship. So that happens in the organizations.
That was an idea that I was suggesting to some people, saying that, see, when you're negotiating a contract, you have lawyers assisting you. Okay. The lawyers are focused only on the legal aspect. Number one, what are your liabilities and how to protect you from any future claims or anything. That's their focus. Okay. Now it's all about you. But any contract is about two people, right? Whether it's two companies or two organizations, two individuals, whatever it might be. So that is where you need somebody who's a mediator who will facilitate that contract negotiation itself.
Absolutely.
So the contract turns out to be a balanced one, taking care of everybody's interests. And that will itself avoid the scope of any kind of dispute coming up in the future.
Absolutely.
It may still come up. That's a different matter.
But I'm telling you, finally, Jawad, you and I say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes you feel that I am saying things which are different in terms of little terminology is the only different little thing that we may have made. We don't disagree on that also. You agree with me on the same thing. So I think you've got the whole thing. I mean, you've had the same thoughts. I think anyone who really wants to do good will have the same thoughts on these things. So that's why I think we are just putting it together. What am I? I'm just coordinating these things. That's all I'm doing. My whole idea was that, I mean, ultimately, even these conversations we have, what are we just doing? We just have our same thoughts and we're just putting it out.
Correct.
Which I was telling you that, look, Jawad, you should have your YouTube channel and do that. But some people have to do some work also. so that's how it's going to happen. But that's why I'm available to do this activity while, of course, you people are doing your work.
Vikram, can't hear you.
You can't? It must be. This one is not on me. This one wasn't on me. This one wasn't on me.
Your video froze, is it?
No. I'm watching my thing on the phone also.
It says, for me, it says that my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, that part of it is another challenge that we have to solve.
Yes. One of the biggest challenges.
Because look, I of course want to take it all online, but of course there might be these challenges, and not a problem. We will handle it at the local level. But only thing is that creating informal spaces.
Correct.
So then one other area is going to be social issues. They will have a mediation circle for social issues or general issues facing local communities and global. So I mean, I keep giving the example of climate change. So we have these climate change mediation circles, but because what happens in one community in one corner of the world affects the world. So those for mediation circles. So basically, lots of them. You'll realize as we go along, you'll realize that there will be lots of such things happening. But of course, I mean, it's going to be step by step. The fact that like-minded people like Gunawati is coming in, like-minded people come together. So things will happen.
Yes.
But again, audio, this is also an issue because audio takes time to connect.
It's time to connect.
Yeah. Because then Aman Guna comes in.
What we are saying.
No, she can't. Because she's not in her. No, yes, Guna, how are you? You might have to. I like the fact that lip reading is something which I've now got practiced. But if you unmute, we'll be happy.
Hi.
Hi.
Congratulations on your baby turning 2.
Thank you very much. And you people have been with the baby, have walked with the baby.
Yes. Still walking with the baby.
Yes, exactly. But Guna, this is the first time I'm seeing you sitting in a space different from the other one that you normally come
Ah,
on my shows.
because I'm normally from my house. Today is my office.
Oh,
Oh,
so but basically we started off our conversation on these mediation circles that I'm creating. So
Okay.
I was just telling him my thought about that, which so some parts of it we have discussed earlier about schools and all, but I have my thought on that, which I'm going to come to you after that. But what I want to do is that in the terms of the content on the channel, what have you people really, I mean, have you been able to watch things? What have you enjoyed? How do we take it further? From here, things are going to change. First of all, these 3-hour conversations might not happen. Those conversations will have to come down.
yeah.
So that part of it. So you now have to give suggestions. We'll start with Guna. Will tell me. Yes, Guna.
No, maybe I just joined. So maybe let Jawad go first.
Okay. So Jawad,
Hi,
what do you
Jawad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Guna. How are you?
Good too. Busy as well. So I noticed that you've been conducting some workshops and all. I've been following your Facebook posts.
Not LinkedIn, is it?
Sorry, LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yeah,
LinkedIn posts on all your training sessions with the judges and all that. Because quite interesting. Maybe I can have a one-to-one with you another time, because I'm also conducting a series of workshops for the judges, and I will be doing one soon, end of next month.
Okay.
So maybe we can share our experiences.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
Yeah,
Why
definitely.
can't you do it on the out here? Everything should go out on YouTube. I'll tell you why. Because what you people will discuss, someone will pick up from that. It'll be good. That's how this whole thing has progressed. Idea was,
True.
let's put everything out there. That one person sitting in one corner of the world listens to you people and creates a workshop in their space, and then calls Guna and Jawad that please come in. We need your help with that. That was the whole idea. Because what happens in these closed rooms, all those words of wisdom of yours get lost. So we want your words of wisdom out there.
Well, maybe. I mean, I don't mind sharing my experiences. I think Jawad, I can speak for him. I'm sure he wouldn't mind too. Jawad?
Please go ahead.
Because Jawad
So
also, yeah, he also doesn't have any problem. He likes to have these
But
conversations. Yeah. Yeah, Guna.
let me just give you a small warning, because when you talk about judges and mediation, it's like waving a red flag before Vikram.
Yes, it is.
I know. That's why I don't want to tread there now. We'll save it for another day.
No.
Sorry,
I was.
Vikram, what was your earlier question to us
No,
before I embarked on this? I sidetracked to this.
we'll come to this. So my question basically was that in terms of the content that has already been created in the last 2 years, what
Mhm.
have you felt was actually useful? What you might have felt, and you can criticize things totally. I mean, this is idea is to improve as we go along. So one thing that I was saying that these 3 or 4 are things that happened. Maybe those might not happen. Maybe I have to look at that aspect. So what about, I mean, those are suggestions that you have to give, how events have to be structured, certain events that you have in mind. Put everything out and let's just do it.
Okay. In terms of I think the first few, I participated in quite a few of the first few symposiums, and also the earlier conversations with you. And there was some overlap of topics, if I may say that.
But can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
Anyone walks in, we'll just say hi to them. So Stacy's walked
Sure.
in, so we'll just say hi to her, and then we'll continue with the conversations. Hi,
Sure.
Stacy. You want to say
Hi.
you want to put your you want to unmute yourself, Stacy?
You think I know that by now. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Stacy.
Because Stacy, you don't know Jawad and Guna, so please tell them about yourself. She's a politician.
Oh, I see.
I am interested in ombudsmanship, and that's how in mediation, and that's how I met mediator Vikram. And I'm in the United States. I'm in California, and have so enjoyed meeting people from all over the world in this context and talking. And congratulations Vikram. Very excited for all the connecting you're doing.
Thank you very much, Stacey, for being part of these events. And I think those conversations we've had, which of course Guna was telling us about these. But here was the idea today was also for you people to tell me about things that you have watched, criticize the content, criticize what I have done. And because here onwards, let's take it maybe in a different direction. How is it? So Guna was telling us about certain things that she felt there was an overlap and all. Yeah, Guna.
Yeah. So some of the topics, and I think it was a back-to-back topic. One was the one on culture, and then the one on indigenous people. And then I think there was one more topic which sort of overlapped with one another. And I think I presented on two of the topics, but not the one on the indigenous ones. But I realized that it was sort of an overlap. I suppose it can't be helped at times. So maybe in that sense, maybe we can look at the content of or the topics which we want to discuss, which you may want to discuss with all your fellow mediators from around the world, of course, us included. And the other thing is, I mean, I think I did comment on this before when we first started our conversations. I know you like to keep it flexible, keep it open, etc. But I think one comment which I have to make critically is the length of the time of each presentation, because this is my personal view. Sometimes when when too much time is allocated to a particular speaker, or sometimes they tend to go off tangent, they're off topic. I've noticed many times they wander into some other space and talk about something else other than the topic. So maybe you should, in instances like that, you should bring them back to the main topic of conversation for that particular day. And the other comment which I have is, as I said, the length of time. Sometimes if a speaker speaks for too long, I think if you're watching a YouTube channel on a particular topic and it takes too long, this may actually, I don't know, I mean, I don't know whether the attention span will be as good, and maybe people may get turned off and say, oh my God, this is dragging. This is not the topic which I wanted to watch when I talked about people wandering off to some other topic. And also, if it's too long, I don't know whether people will watch the entire session, especially if it's like one speaker speaking for more than an hour. My view is, I think it's a tad too long. That's my comment, Vikram.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll just take you through my thought process. What happened was when we started, of course, let me put up what we started with, because that also is important to put up, because that was when that thought came in. So what was the reason for this coming up? I mean, the reason was that everyone was saying that we will make mediators. And my issue was that's demeaning to mediators, is disrespectful to mediators. What Ken Cloke, over his 80 years plus, at that time he was just about turning 80. So at that stage, you are, I mean, saying that we will make you that. No, those were the experiences of life, your value systems, your parents, your grandparents, what they brought in, and everything that you went through is what takes you, and you evolve. I'm not saying that you evolve. So that's why this series started. I mean, I also did not know, Guna, at that point of time, that what is going to come ahead.
True.
No idea.
I think I was with you from the first.
Exactly.
Yes.
You've heard me talk about all those things, and I just took it as it came. So the other thing that, of course, the various topics you're saying about the overlap, for me, it was, let's have these conversations on, right now, they were just conversations which could have happened on a one-on-one basis. We would not have put it on YouTube. But I decided all my conversations, let them go out on YouTube, because let's enlarge the conversation, because each of those things we were talking about were, for me, issues which were in the mediation world. So the mediation in our culture and traditions, that whole theme Let me put that up also. I mean, of course, I will also say it, but the theme was that people might not be familiar with the word, but they're familiar with the process. So let's connect them to that process. And of course, this is that mediatorvikram.com, if you can find that. And this was, I was going to open the poster separately, but I will open it here. This was the Woodstock of mediation. This is, Stacy doesn't know about this. Stacy, this was the symposium, or the International Symposium on Mediation in Our Culture and Traditions. So this went on for, I mean, this was 18 days was the actual number of days we had sessions, but it went over 2 months. So this was August and September of 2021. So the idea behind this was that let's, from every part of the world, people tell us about their own countries, what the, say, in terms of the practice today, what the practice has been. So this was, I mean 97 speakers from 45 countries. So that's where they thought behind that symposium was this. So this was, I mean, before the symposium, actually, I had something called, there was a show of mine, which is called In Conversation with a Beautiful Mind, which of course Guna has been on. That thought had come in because people, someone told me, look, I know about mediation, but I can't put a face to a mediator. So I said, let's put out these mediators. Of course, people that we were just talking about, Stacey, before you came, that I am curating people. It's not a nice thing to say about people, but I said, let's be selective. These are people who are going to represent mediation to the world. So let's have these conversations. Now, of course, conversations were going to develop organically. First one, I think, was some 3 hours something, but just wonderful conversations happening. For me, like I keep saying, this is my living room. So I'm just put a camera to my living room. That's how it is. Yesterday, I was talking to someone in terms of, I said, why don't you join the Zoom meeting? They said, is there a meeting? I said, no, we have to call it Zoom meeting because people call these Zoom meetings. From now on, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, come into my living room. And then they will say, if they're in the waiting room, I'm at the door. That's how the references are going to happen. So then I tell you the overlap part of it, that next year when I did the indigenous peoples and the colonization, decolonization, was actually a breakup of this mediation in our culture and traditions. Because then I said, let's focus on the indigenous peoples. Let's get actually, because we have lots to learn there and things have moved. And why have we moved? Because colonization affected things. So that I said, let's talk about separately. Let's talk about the positives of indigenous peoples and their methods. And then we'll talk about the negatives that the colonization brought in. Then it was called colonization, decolonization, and mediation only because the colonizer left. But the mindset that the colonizer left continued. The structure of the laws continued. I mean, you can look at all three of us. If we look at our laws, I'm telling you that we will find things which we have taken from the colonizer. We did not change much because what the colonizer gave us was like the best for them. They were ruling over a country of, at that time, India's population was 300 million. And there were some 5,000 bureaucrats which were running a country of 300 million. So you created, Jawad might, of course, have different statistics also. I mean, this is the broad thing that I have. I'm not a well-read person, so I might not give the best. So that was, and in between, Stacey, we had the symposium on heart, soul, spirituality, and mediation that happened in between. And the whole, I mean, that's some topic which I keep talking about. So, but now at this point of time, I should not talk so much. And what you were told me, Gunavati, about the time factor, this is what I asked you the first thing. Now from here onwards, we change this. So in the philosophy and mediation symposium, I'd actually put half-an-hour sessions. But problem that happened is half an hour was not good enough. I had to do part 2. For one person, I had to do part 2. The other person did not have time for part 2 because half an hour was not enough. I don't know where to go. I thought 1 hour no, I mean, I think for the topics, yeah.
I guess it's the topic as well, but also I think to grasp the attention of the viewer, that is why I said it shouldn't be that long. And sometimes, people tend to, as I said, sidetrack to other issues. So maybe sometimes when they're talking about a particular topic, and if you find that they have sidetracked, maybe you can use your charm and, and your intelligence and wisdom to bring them back to the topic. So those are the only comments. Other than that, I think you've done a brilliant job, Vikram, in gathering so many mediators around the world. I have to salute you for that, because I don't think any one of us would be able to do what you have done so far. And kudos to you for your efforts.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And of course, we are going to continue, like I said, we're going to continue on the journey which we have started, and we might do it differently, but we will. That time it was the road less traveled. Now
Yep.
we've traveled to a certain extent, but still, I don't know whether the road is the further road is also less traveled. Let's see how it goes. It is less traveled because of the mediation circles part of it. But Jawad has some nice things to say. Jawad, all those nice things you want to say, please.
Yeah, a lot of nice things. I mean, I've already said this before, but because Stacey and Guna are here, I just want to tell you, I just want to echo what Guna said, because I seriously cannot do what you're doing. I mean, I just cannot dedicate the kind of time, the effort, and the planning, the topics that you select really kindle the interest of people. Like, you really feel like that's your dog, Stacey, very cute guy. Okay. So, that is something which is really, really interesting. I mean, bringing philosophy and connecting it with mediation, culture and mediation. We talk about this, but not in a very focused way. Okay, we do recognize, that cultures change, and therefore the way you approach how you do mediation has to change. You have to, recognize the cultural aspects of where the parties are coming from and what their culture is, and accordingly you have to change the way you conduct the mediation. All those things we talk about, but those are not discussed in the kind of in-depth manner that you managed to bring to the table. And especially the speakers that you selected, perhaps except somebody like me, most of them were very good, excellent speakers, and really brilliant. I mean, it was a learning experience. Again, one more point that I want to echo in terms of the critical comment is what already Guna has said, and which I told you also. Now, for example, we recorded a session on neutrality in mediation. Okay, now I circulated that video to a lot of people, and 2 or 3 of them got back and said, we watched it for almost 15 to 20 minutes, but there was no discussion about the neutrality part at all. So I had to again go back to the video and see that we started from the 25th minute onwards, we started talking about the subject. See, we were so engrossed in discussing so many things that we have of mutual interest that we lost track of the time. Now, what happens when you share the video with people who you want to watch, who you would like to watch? They say that we don't have the time for that. See, today we are living in an era of TikTok, Instagram, okay, short reels and videos, where particularly the young, their attention span is very, very low. See, my usual time when I watch your videos is when I'm working out in the morning. Okay, so I switch on the TV, I go to Mediator Vikram channel, and I start watching each session. So I work out for 1 hour. And I would like to finish that in that 1 hour, at least 1 or 2 videos. If I can see in that 1 hour, that will be something that will be very useful for me. So that is something that I just want to tell you, because this is something that has come back to me from several other people also. When I share the videos, they say that, the crux of the topic is reached very late, and there are so many other things that are being discussed. For us, it is very engaging and interesting. But for people who are, like, for example, somebody who wants to know about neutrality or about culture, this conversation becomes irrelevant for them. So they say that, why should I watch that? It's between you and Vikram. So why should I watch it? So this is the kind of feedback that we get. So that is my only point that I want to make to you in terms of, since you wanted us to come up with critical comments, that is the only critical comment that I can think of. The rest of it, I think it's brilliant. I mean, as again, I'm echoing what she said, kudos to you. Your imagination, your planning, the vision that you have, And the value that you're bringing to the mediation movement is something that is really incredible, praiseworthy, and hats off to you. And my full support always.
No, thank you very much. But what you're saying, let me just put up that comment that Ken made, because exactly when it comes from him, look, what it comes from you is as important. So don't think it's not as important. It's just that it sounded so nice when he said that. Let's just have a look at this. One sec. Okay, my sharing did not happen. I'll do that. But I tell you, on the time factor, look, what was I doing? I was connecting with people for the first time. I mean, I had not met all of you, and it was a matter of, because it had to happen now. There was a vision. And to take that vision forward, definitely had to have the right people. And to have the right people, you have to connect, not just on a how are you kind of thing, as to whether we share the same thoughts. Because I mean, Stacy and Guna, I mean, I don't know whether you watch things, but Jawad and we have, of course, had our debate on a certain aspect, of course, which was basically limited to the training, but we stuck to it because there was some connection there that we're looking at the same kind of, we have the same kind of vision. Terminology on whether training or this kind of thing can always be worked out, but at least that connection happened. And Jawad and his wife Anis, we had a wonderful conversation which went for 3 hours in our conversation with the beautiful mind. But that's a connection that you are I mean, there's a connection that's happening at that moment. You cannot cut it. I mean, that was but going forward now, of course, there is a lot of work has to happen on the mediation circles, because with Stacy also, that first we had one conversation which was supposed to be for 1 hour, and it went on for, I think, some 2.5 hours, because we were, I think, because of course there were lots of people in that conversation, and it was something that inputs were coming. Why was the ombuds thing that Stacy is, I mean, she's, of course, the politician part of it, she'll tell us later, but the ombuds part of it, the important thing was that there is this very wide concept of ombuds, what role that they play. So from conflict coaching to maybe mediation. Some of them are, some of them won't do it, but it's a lot of things that they're doing. So I said, why can't organizations, that's the thought behind it, why can't organization have a mediator and a peacemaker? And that kind of thing is what I'm trying to create. So for that conversation was necessary to find out what's really happening, because in terms of ombuds, one is the ombudsman that we understand, which is totally different from what Stacey does. And that ombudsman goes into this thing that we will take a decision after we try to bring people together, and governments have set those up. But ombuds is something that universities in the US started with, maybe, I mean, basically 50 years back, but it was not so popular. So I was trying to bring that, because I love the concept that every organization should have a person available to them on a confidential basis, which is not in the hierarchy of the organization. So at least they can talk about things, and if things can get resolved there, why not? So from here, Stacy, of course, Stacy, the good things first and the criticism after that. So what are the good things that happened from this? How much, I don't know how many of the things that you've been able to watch, but please.
Yeah, I've only watched a few. I would love to watch more. But something I really gathered from it is just all the voices from all the different perspectives. I think that's invaluable, to be able to connect directly with people. Again, I would have never met either, well, any of the three of you, but especially and Jawad and Guna, if we hadn't connected through this tonight. And so it's just creating this web or root system that I think is really important in connection. Teaches us to be human to each other, and what's really important, and that there are more than one way to approach things and to do things, and we just really learn that way. So to me, that's really invaluable. I feel like you're very brave, Vikram, that you just invite and say whoever shows up, and we'll see what happens. And I think most of us, it gets so overwhelming. We think, I don't know how to do that, so I'm not even going to start. And you just started and said, we'll figure it out. So I think that's really important. And you didn't do it out of nowhere. You had connections, and you had things you built from, and just inviting people in. So I think that's just been invaluable. I would love to see I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's so organic and it's kind of going to go where it goes, but maybe now moving to the next phase of choosing specific questions in a different way instead of these broad questions, like narrowing them down and having very specific things people talk about. And because it's continued on, it doesn't have to be 3 hours. It could be very like not speed dating. We don't need to do 2 minutes on an answer, but you know, something focused in that way, and then allow it to kind of go out, but also go higher and go deeper. I feel like there's so many conversations to be had, and if there's something people could pop in and watch a complete thing of, that does become more pass onable to someone else. It gives you more time. So, but I think it's amazing to say, hey, show up, and people do.
Look, Stacey, now the thing is, which is what I mean, Jabad and I had a conversation before you people came in about the mediation circles. But you have, I keep saying politician, please tell them about your school district and what happens there. Please tell us about that, because it will be connected to the mediation circles, which I'm going to talk about. So Stacey, please.
Yeah. So I, in the summer, decided to run for school board in my local school district. We live in a town where 2 towns together have a school district, and everything's run out of one town, but it goes over 2, and they're not together, and they're very different cities. So there's lots of interesting dynamics there. And I'm in the smaller town. And the person, we're not guaranteed representation, but we had it for 8 years, and that person decided not to run again. So I ran and I won, and I just starting, I have my 2nd meeting this week and developing relationships. But we have restorative justice programs. And it also happens, it's not just a program everyone has, but we have somebody there who's there to come in and try to do those practices. And we've had peer mediation in the past and peer counseling in the past, but it's not at every school. So we're really wanting to give those skills. Ken Cloke all the time talks about, we need new skills. We're in a new age. We need to be more equipped. We need to practice these all the time and teach it. And those socio-emotional pieces that go along with being able to do those skills. So I'm hoping to develop that among our school kids, but also for us adults. I feel like we're behind our kids in knowing how to do all of those things, and they're running ahead of us. So catching up to them.
Yeah, because this whole concept of the school district and these boards and all, that's not happening in most places. So it's a good thing to know about that, because look, a lot of these things that I do, of course, we were talking about peer mediation also before this. It is a thing that happens. So I'm not even using that because I have a different thought on it, a totally different thought on it, because we were talking about this mediation circle. So I want to create a mediation circle in every school. And I'm not calling it peer mediation only because peer mediation was, we'll come and tell you about things. We will coach you. We will train you, that aspect of it. I want to cut that off totally. I'm saying these children are smart enough. They are already within themselves handling issues. There are people with the mediator mindset in these schools. Let's bring them out. And I was, of course, again, repetition of what I was talking to Jawad, that in terms of them growing up, they've had so much exposure to the world in terms of the wisdom of the world available to them on their phone, which we growing up were not exposed to as much. It was very limited in terms of what we got. So now if they've been exposed to so much, what they have taken from that, I feel, okay, there'll be negatives, but there will be positives. So let's focus on the positives. I have made sure that in that little bubble of mine, which I've created, the negatives and in terms of the energy that comes in is positive energy, which comes in. Similarly, these mediation circles in schools, it's not going to take everyone into that. Whoever feels, who has that mindset of first wanting to collaborate and come together and amicably resolve things, there are people like that who want to do that. So they come in. Those people, the children with the mediator mindset, are identified by the children themselves. The peacemakers, look, there's a difference, Stacey, which that's why I think I spoke about it when we discussed. But the fact is, the mediator mindset obviously is someone who assists you in resolving a dispute. For me, the peacemaker is someone who brings them together. So there are 2 different skills that are there in children themselves. And if you just have that discussion with them, They then tell you those two different sets of people. But initially, it is all largely about the peacemaker. And the mediator doesn't get discussed. But for me, that is a focus area, because this person has a skill to actually help you resolve it. The person who brings you together is saying negotiate and resolve. But a mediator actually is actively involved in helping you. So that's why there's two categories. And as we go along, this group of people who are coming together, who to collaborate, this will become a community by itself, away from activism, advocacy, and politics. That will exist separately. And this group of people will exist separately, who have these conversations, who can actually objectively discuss issues. And this will become a group which will actually be brought in for conversations, because they can have these conversations. And the person with the mediator mindset who's part of it will be able to coordinate this conversation. So this is one at the school level. Whatever, there are definitely issues which come up where the students are involved. Then as it grows, those children will take it into their families, they'll take it into the communities, but at the same time we'll set them up in communities also. So it can start small, and like you were saying, for me it's all developed organically. This will not take the whole school into account. Everyone wants to come in, everyone has that mindset, very good. But if they don't, they'll come to it. Everyone will come to it when they see positive results happening there. So these are the mediation circles that I'm trying to put together. So I mean, of course, in terms of, like you said, these topics, now the conversations will happen with people within circles. So one is, of course, the schools, the communities, then organizations, which is what that discussion with you was about, the ombuds, to understand what activities are happening. So in every organization, there will be an external or internal, let's see how that goes, an external or internal peacemaker and a mediator. So they have these people available to them. Of course, in terms of how they are going to be compensated, I have some thoughts on that, but again, we'll develop it as it goes along. So these are of course mediation circles in organizations, community, schools. Then we'll have a set of mediation circles on issues, social issues affecting your community, down to the global thing. So example like I was giving was the climate change. So we have a climate change mediation circle globally, but one down in every community also, because what happens in a community affects the world. So that's why it's the World Mediation Circle, that everyone is part of the World Mediation Circle, but is part of their whatever little circle that is created in their school or community or organization or issue based. So it's a web of mediation circles. As Leila in India, she gave that word I was saying, it's a network. She said, why don't you use, this sounds like a web. So now it's called the World Wide Web of Mediation Circles. But there will still be topics which will be general topics, because let me tell you what's coming up. Of course, next month, there is the religion and mediation and language and mediation. Again, because these are new topics, there will be broader conversations. Whether I should limit it to half an hour or not, let's try it. But if you get lots of speakers, it all depends. And my only issue is that I don't put out these things in advance. This should have happened last month. I should have put out the schedule for next year, but I'd like to take it as it comes. Let me tell you about that 97 speakers, that symposium. 1 week before it had to start, it was just a thought in my mind. And I just put it out. And people started coming in, and people started coming in. It was supposed to be 1 month. It went on for 2 months. So it all depends. I mean, that World Mediators Conference that you were part of, that was also 1 week before that. It was only Ken Cloke his opening session was the only one that was fixed. There was nothing else. And then we had 80 sessions. So it'll all grow. So these are general topics. Religion and mediation and language and mediation are general. But then we have after that conferences of mediation circles. So there will be a climate change mediation circle conference. There'll be an environmental mediation circle conference, and then we'll have all the local ones. So basically, we can have one, what you people create in your communities. We can just call those people together. It can be short. It doesn't have to be. I'm calling it conference. We can call it something else. But every one of those people will come together, and we'll have a discussion on how it's going. And then we'll keep talking about it as we go along. So those will be largely what's going to happen. That World Mediators Conference will continue, of course, starting with Ken's birthday. That's the World Mediators Day. So that's going to happen. Peacemakers Day, which I celebrate on my birthday. So someone had to celebrate peacemakers. So that's going to happen. So that's the way it's going to go. So thoughts now. Now thoughts. Guna, thoughts.
I think you've got some interesting topics lined up.
Let me tell you,
Sorry?
I missed out on one. Actually, I want to have a conversation on genocide and mediation, which
Ooh.
was on 27th of January. I haven't put it out yet. So now that, let's see, whoever comes in, I'll put that out. I mean, this is up till today. I was just the celebration part of it. Now 2023 has to be discussed. So genocide, I missed out. Yeah, please.
Yeah, you have some interesting topics lined up for all of us. So, I mean, I think I look forward to participating in some of them, not all, because of time constraints. And I'm sure you will come up with more exciting topics. But I think the topics which you have just mentioned earlier, I think current topics, sustainability, environment, all these topics and relating it to mediation, I think is a great way to move forward for this year.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Vikram, I have to excuse myself as well because I'm at the office and I need to meet a client in a short while. So thank you for all your effort and thank you for having me on some of your topics. Actually, you've invited me for every single one, but I have to apologize for not being able to make it on some of the topics due to certain reasons which come along the way at that particular point of time. So I would like to apologize for that as well. And I enjoyed all our conversations, although there may have been overlaps, there may have been oversights or whatever. I apologize for all that. And I think you will, I'm sure, able to bring in more speakers, new speakers for the year. And maybe, some of us can recommend some of our friends or introduce some of our friends who have not been on your show so that, they can give their input as well to the current topics which you have lined up for 2023. So
Perfect.
all the best to you, Vikram, for the coming year. And I'm sure you will have a very successful 2023 with your mediation network. Thank you very much.
Yes, Guna, we have to start creating the Malaysia mediation circle, the Kuala Lumpur mediation circle, and schools and community. You have to. That's what they focus now. So we're going to do that also.
I think we have spoken about the school thing some time ago. Yes. So let's hope that it will move forward this year. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Vikram.
Thank you,
and Jawad and Stacey. Nice meeting both of you. And sorry, I have to leave now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming in, Guna.
Being here. It was nice.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And we
bye, Stacey.
Have that. We'll definitely
Jawad, I'll probably contact you about the other thing. We shall not speak about that in front of Vikram. Okay.
Yesterday, somebody. Bye. Bye, Guna.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Because yesterday itself, someone was talking to me about the judge. I want to involve some judges. And I said, at this point of time, let's not do that because of the fact that connection of courts and judges and lawyers to mediation. I want to just, for the moment, because we're going out into a world where that part of it is maybe not still connected. And if judges as individuals who have that mindset, definitely we'll take them forward. But not, I mean, we don't have to keep saying that so-and-so is an engineer or a lawyer. They just mediators. Let's let them come in as mediators. So we'll definitely do that. I know you're also short of time. So but let me look, my issue has always been that I can't talk to myself. A lot of people have these videos out there where they put out, I mean, so I can't do that. So I need you for whatever time you have. So what I was trying to.
No, there are three things that I heard from you, Vikram. One was, of course, the schools, going to the schools and talking to the students there and getting them into the mediation circle and encouraging conversations between them without giving them any structure as such. And, giving them the autonomy to evolve their own, whatever methods that they wish to take, use. for peace building, for resolving their internal disputes. And, as you rightly said, the circle will keep expanding on it. So once people see some positive results coming out, automatically that will happen. The second thing you said, which I found very interesting, was the resident welfare associations. Because about 5-6 months back, I was in Delhi, and this was something I think Sangeeta Mehrotra, right?
Don't really know her. I think somewhere I've.
She's the mediator, and she's part of the ambassadors of mediation group and all that. So she was telling me, because I had gone there for a training program, and she met me, and she was saying that why don't we, go to residents associations and tell them that, look, we can see. Her concept was different. Yours is different. But what you're saying is, finding those mediators and peacemakers within those, within the people there. But what she was mentioning was offering them mediation services. That was the essential difference. But what you're talking about is different. And that sounds more interesting because, as the saying goes, you give a man a fish, he will eat for one day. If you teach the man to fish, just to,
Absolutely.
stretch that analogy a bit and apply it to mediation. Like every time outsiders cannot keep going and resolving conflicts. So that's something that, people need to learn by themselves. And that would be something that I feel it's very important because, these buildings, these huge, condominiums and apartment buildings and all that, they represent a cross-section of people, right? Different cultures, different backgrounds, different communities, different castes. All these people live together in a building, and there are bound to be disputes, there are bound to be conflicts. And if they can, start having these conversations and resolving these conflicts peacefully with the help of whoever among them has those innate skills, nothing like it. So that is a very interesting concept that you have said. The third thing about corporations, companies, and that is where I think Stacey was mentioning about ombudsman. And this was again another idea that I was having in my mind, because what we find is huge, big companies, big, banks, they can afford to have their own ombudsman. Now, but the problem is whether those ombudspersons are independent or whether they feel beholden to the organization, whether they deal with those issues in a proper manner. Now, that is another issue completely. But what happens is we see that, there are many smaller companies, like, for example, we have these MSMEs, micro, medium, whatever.
Micro, small, medium enterprises.
Enterprises, yeah. So now these enterprises, they cannot afford to have their own ombudsman. And there are a lot of issues, right from workplace conflicts, sexual harassment cases, customer business disputes, sub-vendor business disputes. All these disputes, they cannot afford to have an ombuds to resolve that amicably before taking recourse to whatever legal proceedings that may be available to them. And that is where I think we can, offer them a sort of a service where we can say that, why don't you outsource this to us? So we can do it, because they may not have the time, or the manpower to have their own people, the way we are thinking about the welfare associations, the residents associations of the schools. They may need outside help. So this is where I feel that, that would be something that where mediation service providers can approach them and tell them that, look, this is something that we can offer you. So you can have us on your panel or whatever that you want to, and outsource the job to us, and we will do it for you, and we will help you to deal with these issues.
Yeah, but I think, please. You're saying something else.
These are the three things that I wanted to comment on.
Yeah. No, I tell you about the resident welfare associations and why I'm saying that of course, at one point we have to create an environment there and identify those people, because people like Jawad, because finally, like I said, I'm selective as to the people who will be available to create these mediation circles. So you are available because, like you said, it's a cross section of people coming from various backgrounds. Yes. Plus in terms of their occupations, they come from various places. So they've identified Jawad as someone who has come in and is actually coming in to create something, not just to come and say, come to me and I will mediate for you, but actually creating that environment. And while interacting with you, they feel, yes, we need Jawad for a certain issue which is happening in their businesses or workplaces. And again, creating the mediation circles there. Like you said, this is actually that whole outsourced concept, because ombuds, I don't want to use that word because it has got various perceptions in different parts of the world. And they've taken it in the wrong direction, because the ombuds concept that started from the US has gone into a totally different direction of someone like we have the banking ombuds, insurance ombuds. So that's a difference. So let's not use a terminology which people can get confused with. We stick to our mediator and peacemaker thing. And outsourced concept of a mediator is actually what should work in every organization, because we do want this person to be separate from the hierarchy. So that part of it definitely we will do. And the other part, I mean, the other thing is that it's going to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen, like I said, in one day, but you will realize that by creating those people, you are going to take them forward, even those people with the mediator mindset in the resident welfare association, or in the, I mean, in that complex or whatever that area is. Those people you will be able to utilize as people available to outside people. So it's both ways. You are coming into there, and from there you are taking people outside, because you can understand how huge this whole thing is. I mean, just look at India, 1.4 billion people, 1 billion in rural areas. So to actually create that whole community there, we will need people from there. You can't, I mean, and I'm telling you, finally, if you look around, you will tell me, of course, because you are totally in that network, how many people you can identify. Let's take as many as we can, but they will need to create that next chain. Otherwise, it's not going to work. We might be a few people who will say, come, we will mediate for you. But finally, I don't want Jawad to do any mediations, because the skill and the mindset that you bring is someone who should be creating mediation circles, but you need to get remunerated for it. Finally, that's what it's all going to be all about. So these people, communities and all, have to pay you something. Individuals have to pay you something. And like I said, funding, wherever it comes from. We will try and create sponsors, but there's one part of it, but community should value you. So that's how it will work, in a multi-level marketing concept. So definitely, but there were some very nice comments there. So thank you very much. But Darren, of course, should have been here. I did not come in. Josephine, thank you. Tina, I think you people should have been here. Alexander, thank you. Shubham. And of course, Alexander says both school and colleges will be best suited. So definitely that there also. And Victor and Abdul, of course, appreciates. Thank you very much. So definitely I mean, seems to be on the right track. We had good comments coming in there. So Jawad, I know you're short of time. So definitely not going to take more of your time, but I wanted to play that one video which you said some nice thing, and I have always, I actually put it out in my posts also, what Ken said, but for some reason, this did not happen here. Okay. Maybe I played it, but basically this is what he was saying, that the fact that this topic.
Also told me that you will play the clipping of that.
Yeah, I was just trying to play. I was trying to play from my phone. I think what I've done was Zoom has created the new one, that this new thing they downloaded, I mean, upgraded. For some reason, it is, I think we've done it. Yeah, there was some setting that they wanted, which that setting was not done.
Well, and I'm using that as a kind of beginning for thanking you for the gift that you have given to all of us of all of these sessions that you have done. You have identified incredibly important topics in conflict resolution, topics that no one is really speaking about. Or if they are, they aren't speaking together, or if they are, they aren't speaking deeply about these issues.
Sorry, this is important.
They aren't speaking deeply about these issues. And these are important issues and ones that we need to look at deeply. So thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
Ken.
deeply
Thank you.
appreciative for all the work that you've done in this, Vikram. And I do think it's important to support each other in the work that we're doing. So I do want to recommend to those who are listening that you support Vikram in the work that he is doing, because it is really incredibly valuable work. So
So that was look, coming from you is as good. Okay, Jawad, I'm not saying this, but coming from Ken, it was amazing when he said that.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that if he's saying these topics are not discussed, and someone with that kind of experience, and we keep saying the US being a mature market and these things should have happened. So that felt really good. It felt
Yeah.
really good that yes, maybe on the right track. Of course, the other part of him saying support, that part did not happen, but I'm hoping as we go along, because look, finally, it's all about me putting content. Now, I was very clear that the content should be available to everyone. Now, I had to put it out as free content, and I still want to keep doing that, because there are people who will not have the opportunity to listening to people like you, Ken, all these people who have come in that, they would not have that opportunity. And to say that I will have these closed rooms and that I will charge you something to come in is an issue which I'm struggling with, because there is time and so much time goes into it, and I risk my marriage on that, which I keep putting out there, that I'm asked that question, that why don't you do your work instead? But it's just something that you suddenly see something being created, and I don't want to now hold back that. So what I felt was, okay, we'll create these mediation circles, we'll get revenue from there, everyone will buy like multi-level marketing kind of thing. People who come in will give me something, other people will give you something, and of course from that you also get recognized as a mediator. Then you will get mediations which you will of course get your whatever, negotiate your fees. So we'll create that environment that we are valued. And of course, my whole thing, which I maybe not the right place, but I will still put it: how do we stop mediators for giving the services for free? And the court system part of it, that will always be a discussion. How much of that I will have, I don't know. But when that happens, yes.
One of my New Year resolutions is not to do anything free.
Yeah, this is what we need. This is what we need. I'm telling you, this can change things. It can change everything, because on this other end, yes, this judges and all that, their pressure will come on these lawyers to say that yes, do it, and they will keep them happy. They will keep doing it. But mediation will never get connected to the right thing. It will be the wrong way of connecting to mediation. And it's going to, okay, we get it for free. There was someone who gave me that example. Like you also maybe see, it was quite a viral video of this person playing a violin in some metro station or somewhere outside that. And no one even stopped to listen. And the same day he had some concert, which were thousands of dollars being paid for that. So why do we want to put ourselves into that position? Why? And of course, in your conversation in that with Anis, this aspect came up, that the fact that you need to be remunerated from that work. So Jawad, not to keep you longer, if you have to rush, you have to rush. And let me just 1 second, because look, I can't. If we used to go, this thing stops. So
No, I have a mediation at 12.
I know. But what I want to just see that if there is any comment on the YouTube. What I was looking at the LinkedIn one.
Okay.
So I was just seeing, is there any comment on the YouTube one? YouTube, for some reason, no comments come in. Because I tell you, I keep saying that the YouTube channel, but actually, in terms of subscribers, what 812 subscribers is what I see. So people don't really subscribe, and if they don't subscribe, they won't get to know something is happening. So that will happen when it happens. So that's okay. So Jawad, thank you very much for being part of things. I told you about some things which are coming up, but please, ways to connect, to find out information. There is of course, the LinkedIn post, which obviously everyone doesn't see. So that bell on the profile, please press that. So we post. YouTube channel, please subscribe to it. Then
I have already subscribed to your YouTube channel.
Perfect. So anyway, they just keep. I told you, genocide and mediation. I want to have a conversation on the 27th. The only thing is, I haven't put it out yet. So let's put that out. Then there is religion and mediation happening first week of February. So you have to be part of that. Then there is language and mediation, which will happen, I think, on the 21st. It'll start that little symposium. And of course, I'll have these other shows that I have in Evolution of a Mediator is happening tomorrow with Bernie Mayer. That episode as part 4. We've already had 3 discussions. Then talking books is going to happen. So all that is going to happen. So thank you very much, Jawad.
Thanks, sir. Thank you. All the best to you.
We are going to work on these mediation circle. You're not going to get out so easily. Okay.
No,
After this, whenever you have time from tomorrow onwards, that's the focus.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Jawad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.